Hi everyone. I'm gonna try to set this up. Okay. Hello. How's everyone doing? We're about to get real vulnerable tonight. If this is your first time to my scope, welcome. You're about to learn a lot about me. So, sorry. Hi, hello everyone. Good evening. It's 11 o'clock Eastern time where I'm at. Mood music, yeah, of course. Gotta set the mood. Purchase the Olo, thanks to you. Awesome. Tweet them and say, I purchased you, thanks to Rose Carlin. Hi, Vita. Hi, Zebra. Hello, Aaron. So excited to hear and support. Thank you. So, let's put this a little lower. So the first thing I want to ask, no, I'm in Florida. The first thing I want to ask is if you could please, swipe right and share. Because a lot of times people or you guys will come on and follow me later and ask me about my near-death experience, and I'm really telling it in its entirety. So if you can swipe right and share, it would be a lot easier for me to talk about it. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you for all the hearts. So if this is your first time, really quick, I'm a motivational speaker and an author and the founder of the nonprofit movement Hello Perfect. And I got on this path really because of a traumatic experience that happened in my life not too long ago. Thank you, William, for sharing. Yeah, I appreciate it. If you share to Periscope, share to Twitter. You had a near-death experience. Yes, that's what I'll be talking about right now. So let's get started. Why not? Okay. So it all starts back to basically September of 2012. Okay, thank you for sharing. My Instagram is Alexa Rose Carlin. I'd love to collaborate. So I'm going to talk about my story and different, how it went chronologically, and I'll answer questions in between. But I'm going to be staying on for the full time. So if you do have any questions and I miss them, I will definitely get to them towards the end. Yeah, I'm cuddled up on my bed. Okay, this is what happened. So it started September 2012. I was a senior at the University of Florida, and I was living life to the fullest. I just got back from interning at New York Fashion Week with my best friend. I was living in a beautiful apartment with my 3 best friends. Yes, go Gators. And, come on, Noah. My dog's over here. And I was falling in love for the first time. And Hello Perfect, my company, it wasn't a nonprofit at the time, but my company was growing rapidly. But I remember this moment that I looked into my bathroom mirror and I said to myself, my life is too perfect. Something is going to go wrong. A week later, I drove back home. I live in South Florida, so I was up in Gainesville, which is North Florida. I drove home for my little sister's 16th birthday party. My parents threw a huge party. I had the giant blow-up slide in my backyard, and they surprised my sister with a brand new car. You know, who wouldn't be thrilled? Literally, we had so many of her friends at my house, and it was a beautiful party. So I was supposed to go back up to school the next day, but my sister had extra tickets to see Florence and the Machine. And Florence and the Machine is they're my favorite band. So I was like, okay, I could skip a few classes to stay home for this concert. So, and remember this. This is one lesson right now. There's no such thing as a coincidence. Okay? So I decided to stay home. The day before the concert, I was getting ready in the morning, and my mom gets a phone call from my sister's high school. My little sister was going to commit suicide. They found a suicide letter. And basically, we went to the school, and my sister was dealing with anorexia. She was dealing with tons of bullying. She was cutting all of her wrists. And, they hide it very well. She always wore tons of bracelets. We knew she had a little bit of a problem with eating, but not to the extent it was. She was beginning to hallucinate and having voices in her head. So, this changed my whole family's life. She was Baker acted, and she's alive today, by the way. She's amazing right now. She's an amazing individual. She's a freshman in college. She's a very strong individual. But anyway, so I had to go back to school, and because I had to finish, I had one more semester left of college. So I drove back up to school, and I was so terrified that my sister was going to hurt herself. Because, like, my family was here, and I couldn't be with them, and I was up in Gainesville with just my best friends. And I began to blame myself for what had happened, which I'm sure a lot of us have done in the past. We always blame ourselves. Because the semester before senior year, it was junior year spring, I was studying abroad in London. And so I didn't get to communicate with my family that much. So I felt, you had a similar experience with your brother. I felt that I wasn't there for my sister when she needed me the most. And I started to blame myself. So I wanted to feel the pain that my sister was feeling. And what did life give me when I asked for the pain? It gave me exactly what I asked for. Okay? What we ask for, we receive. I wanted to feel hurt, so what happened? Life hurt me. My social life ended. I started to turn to drugs to numb the pain. My boyfriend began mentally abusing me, and I just was waiting to live my life. I was waiting to graduate college, and I was just sitting in this waiting zone and not leaving my apartment, not doing anything, and I quickly sank into a downward spiral. And so that was September, and so a couple months went by, and I was severely like, I would, now looking back, I would say depressed in a situation where someone is mentally, exactly. I was just not in the right state of mind. I was allowing him to manipulate all of the situations, and I always just blame myself because I was in that victim state of mind. I'm way better. Obviously, you guys know that. So then New Year's rolled around, and I said to myself that this is going to be a fresh start. But of course, saying it and truly believing it are two completely different things. Yeah, I know Tony Robbins. Right? So we could say something, but if we don't really believe it, it's not going to really come true. So I said it was going to be a fresh start. I broke up with my boyfriend. I was over that. But in my heart and in my mental state, I was still in that negative victim state of mind. And that was New Year's. Yeah, it was a tough time for everyone. What triggered what? So wait, what triggered it? So New Year's. So basically just New Year's. Exactly. It was nothing really that important. But New Year's triggered it. I was like, okay, I broke up with my boyfriend because of our last fight, which was over Mark Cuban. It was so stupid. And it was because I was networking with Mark Cuban. He got like super jealous. But anyway, that's a different story. Thank you. So then January 26th, I was rushed to the hospital. So that was a Saturday, and me and my friend were planning to have a party for Hello Perfect. We were celebrating our 1,000 likes party. Yes, 1,000 likes on Facebook. And we decided we wanted to celebrate because we've been dealing with so much negativity. We're like, let's just have a party. And so I know, I heard that. I invited my mom to come up to celebrate with me. And my mom's like, oh, no, you don't want me. It's a college party. You don't want me. And I said, no, I really want you to come up. And she felt like I needed her. And remember, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And so she came up, and I was really sick the week before. I was having the shivers. I had a high fever, and I just didn't feel well. And all my friends were just like, oh, it's the flu. Even though I got the flu shot the week before I started to get sick. So January 26th, I was really, really sick, and my mom took me to a walk-in clinic. They pumped me with some fluids because I was severely dehydrated, and my dad and my mom, it wasn't good, but they pumped me with some fluids because I was severely dehydrated, and then they gave me an IV of antibiotics, and then they said, okay, bye, have fun at your party. So I went. I took a shower. My mom and my friends were getting things ready because I was just too sick to prepare. And when I got out of the shower, I was so sick I could barely even stand up, and my chest was pounding so hard. It was really, really painful. And my mom saw my heart beating out of my neck. And she's like, okay, we're going to the emergency room. It could have been the flu shot, but it was most likely from something else. So she rushed me to the emergency room, and within seconds they took me in. And if they take you in like really quick, it's never good. My blood pressure was dropping rapidly, and they started to bring me into all of these different rooms and give me all these different tests like CAT scans, MRIs, and all these different x-rays. And they were pumping me with fluids, and I was beginning to blow up, and I was in so much pain. My chest was pounding so hard. I was getting short of breath, but they couldn't give me any pain medicine because my blood pressure was just dropping it was too low. And this pain, like, I would never wish upon anyone in the world. It was so painful. So I remember them putting a mask on my face to help me breathe. And I remember that I couldn't breathe with the mask on. And so when I tried ripping the mask off, I couldn't breathe with the mask off. And that's when I knew something was really wrong and bad. And I remember them asking me, Alexa, we're going to put you in a coma. Do you want to be put in a coma? And yeah, exactly. And I remember saying yes because I couldn't handle the pain anymore, and everything went black. And I was in an induced coma for 6 days. And when they put me in a coma, they told my mom, because remember my mom was with me. Yeah, within a matter of hours, they told my mom, call your family. She has 24 hours to live. Yeah, a medically induced coma. 24 hours to live. I could show you a picture. Hold on. So that's like a picture of me in the coma. You could see I have so many things around me. That's in my family. It's really bad. That's me like blowing up. This is before the coma. That's me in the coma. That's in the coma. Yeah, I was in the intensive care unit for 10 days. That's my little sister. So, yeah, it's really bad. Okay. So, I'm gonna try it. So, yeah, they told my mom she has 24 hours to live, call your whole family. And my body went into septic shock. So, sepsis was taking over my body. Sepsis is blood poisoning. So a bacteria got into my bloodstream and started killing all of my organs within hours. And they never figured out what caused, where the bacteria came from. They were testing it, my mom said, but really they were just trying to figure out something that would save me. Because even when I was in the coma, I was still at a very high risk of death because nothing was working. I had 9 different bags of antibiotics pumping into me, and nothing was taking. And sepsis was just killing all of my organs. Sepsis, 1 in 3 people die. 1 in 3 people die. Every 3 heartbeats, someone in the world is dying of sepsis. Yeah, I'm extremely lucky. I'm extremely grateful. So they never knew where the bacteria came from, which is kind of scary, but it can come from anything. Yeah, sepsis is no joke, definitely. So, twice while I was in the coma, they told my mom within the next 24 hours we'll know if she lives or not. They gave me, okay, listen to this. The doctors in the intensive care unit gave me a 1% chance of living. A 1% chance of living. Okay, so never ever think that you can't accomplish something or you can't beat the odds. Okay, 1%. Don't listen to what people say. I mean, they didn't tell me that. They told my mom that. But, okay, so now let's get into what I was seeing when I was in the coma. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about my near-death experience. My name's Alexa. I'm sharing this story with you so you can see where my motivation comes from. You can see where my advice comes from. You could see, when I provide you with tips and stuff, it's because this is what helped me, after what I've been through. So definitely follow if you're not following, and please share the broadcast. I'd really appreciate it if you just swipe right and share. Okay, so now when I'm in the coma, Okay, so I had so many different hallucinations and vivid dreams, or whatever you want to call it. So did I see a bright light? This is what I saw. I was in a field of green grass, like the greenest grass. This green does not exist in this reality. That's what I always say. Like, and these hallucinations, these dreams, or whatever I saw, were more realistic than the reality I'm living right now. Literally than the reality I'm living right now. That was more realistic. And it was just so many beautiful colors, big field of green grass, red mountains in the background, and I was running, but I wasn't in a body. I was this ball of light running with the wind. And I was at peace. Like I was never scared that I was going to die. I never thought that I was going to die. But I was at peace in the moment. And that's what I saw when I was in the coma. And then your inner thoughts create your outer world. Wait until you hear the rest of my story. Ready? Could you fly? I don't remember specifically flying. I just remember me being in a ball of light and running with the wind. And that's what I saw. So when I woke up out of the coma, I had a mask on my face, a tube down my throat, and I was hooked up to 9 different bags of antibiotics. So I still couldn't move, breathe, or speak on my own. I couldn't even have a glass of water. When I was in the coma, I didn't know what was going on. I only knew that vision. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. So when I woke up, so I couldn't move, breathe, or speak on my own. I couldn't even have a glass of water. Like, I am so grateful for water today. But I remember that I had my mind, okay? All I had was my mind because I couldn't do anything. So I would picture my mind to be this pure, healthy pink because I thought that that was the only thing in my body that was working. And the rest of my body felt like it was black and rotting away, like sepsis was just taking over my body. And I pictured it was like, you know, when you were in elementary school, when they would show you like the lung that if you smoke or your healthy lung, that was the pink I pictured in my mind. And the unhealthy lung was the rest of my body. And I would push down this pink with every ounce of energy I had left. I would move down this pink to try and heal my body. And I never read this before. People have asked me, like, how did you know how to do this? I have no clue how I knew how to do this. It was just the will and the fight to live. You have to have a willingness to live. You have to have a willingness to accomplish something, right? And so this was my gut instincts. This was the only way I saw that I was able to heal my body. I've been told that before, Brandy. So, and then also during this time, like I said, all I wanted was a glass of water. And the pain was unbearable. Like I told you, I had 9 different bags of antibiotics. It's the scars over here, but I had the needle in my neck. And you know, if like, you know, medical, if it's in the neck, it's like one of the worst things. Did you see anybody else in this real world? No, I didn't. Well, in hallucinations and dreams that I had when I was sleeping, I did have other people come into my dream. And it was also like I had talking animals. I had relatives. I had people that I haven't seen for years. And that was when I was out of the coma, but I was still I was on a lot of drugs apparently. But I remember that it always ended with me dying, which was pretty scary. And when I would wake up out of this dream, my nurse would be standing right next to me because my heart monitor would be going so crazy. And you know how a lot of times we're grateful to wake up out of a nightmare? I wasn't grateful to wake up out of this nightmare because then I was in my real nightmare. I was in the ICU, with still not being able to do anything on my own, not even breathe. So, yeah, so I did see that, but that was out of the coma. So then also, okay, so remember, the pain was so unbearable, like so unbearable. I can't even describe the pain. And all I wanted was a glass of water. So I remember picturing myself to be on my high school track, okay? And just running around this track. Cool. That's very cool. So running around this track, and I don't know why it was like my high school track, because I never ran track before. But that's what I pictured. And I just remember envisioning the end result, envisioning all my family and friends standing at the finish line and me running through the finish line, and they have a giant glass of water pouring all over me and into my mouth. And I just kept on saying to myself, water at the end of the race, 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 water at the end of the race. And I would say it over and over and over and over until finally I got to the end of the race. I got water. And so when we focus on small attainable goals, we're able to change our negative thoughts into positive ones. Remember, I was in so much pain. And if I focused on the pain, I would have not been able to survive. I wouldn't. So I had to change my thoughts to focus on something positive. Where focus goes, energy flows. Yes, exactly. And we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I love that quote. So I focus on those small attainable goals. And see, we can use that in every part of our life. Focus on one moment at a time, one small goal at a time, to change the negative into positive. And I finally, accomplished. So I truly believe that my mind had a big part in healing my body. Hey, Rich. I'm glad to see you on here. Spiritual beings having human experience. Yes. So also, I was just going to say something. But okay, so we'll keep on going. So I got out of the hospital and they said, okay, like, you're on to a full recovery, have a good life or whatever. So, I mean, I had some follow-up, of course, and I was on some drugs afterwards, but, I pretty much healed my body really quickly. They said that it was going to take me 6 months to get my heart beating back to normal. Because remember, like, sepsis took over my heart. And I got my heart beating back to normal in 3 months. So I healed myself pretty quickly. And then I was able to graduate college on time. And right after graduation, literally a week later, I moved to New York City to go after my dreams of working in the fashion industry. And I got a job at InStyle magazine. And so I was working, and for some reason, I wasn't as happy as I thought I would be. I wanted to move to New York since I was 10 years old. And I interned there every summer over college. But then, like, when I moved there permanently, something changed. And I read all of my journals, and when I look back to my journals, it was even the first week I wasn't happy there because something, I had a life-changing experience. So yeah, if you guys have questions, I'll answer them after. So, I started getting sick again, and sicker and sicker and sicker. And then all of a sudden, I had to be rushed into, to get a colonoscopy. And I had another, deadly bacteria growing in my body. So I was in the hospital January, got out February, graduated May, and this happened in August. I had another deadly bacteria, and I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And after this experience, I developed post-traumatic stress disorder. So basically, I was living with a compromised immune system and so many digestive issues without knowing, because doctors didn't tell me. I was taking some probiotics, but it wasn't enough, because even though all those antibiotics helped me, they also destroyed everything in my body, right? Because antibiotics kill everything, including the good gut flora you need to fight off all of the bacteria out there. So every day in New York City after this, after I was rushed to get the colonoscopy, I was so sick. A bacteria on the subway that wouldn't affect my friend would make me severely, severely ill. And then I was there during the polar vortex. So this was 2013, not too long ago. And so I was there during the polar vortex, and that did not help at all. So yeah, I developed post-traumatic stress because I was so scared I was going to get that sick again and end up in the hospital. And I quickly sank into another deep depression. I was living in fear. I couldn't do what normal 22-year-olds could do. I couldn't go out drinking with my friends anymore. I just couldn't be myself. It was really a really hard experience. And also, after the hospital, I had so much attention on me. I mean, I got cards from all over the world. Even Mark Cuban posted on his Facebook page to have his fans pray for me. I had so much attention after this. And then all of a sudden, the attention slows because everyone goes on with their own life. But I wasn't, I do know that guy. I'm not reading the comments. I wasn't healed, right? The scars were internal. So that's what I say when you need to be kind to everyone, because you don't know what battle they're going through. Because even though you can't see an external scar, doesn't mean that they don't have an internal one. And so even though like everyone moved on with their life, I still was in that dark place, and I was still in that victim mindset. And so like even with my best friend that I was living with, like she was over it. She was ready to like be happy and live in New York City, and I wanted her to be there for me in ways that she couldn't anymore. And that really I had a really hard time with that. And so my mom would tell me, it's kind of a sad thing, but it's kind of true in a way. When you cry alone, but when you laugh, the world laughs with you. And believe me, I didn't want to hear it at that time. I was so upset, and life keeps on moving. And so I was stuck in this victim mindset and post-traumatic stress and living in fear and not being able to really do anything. And I started making video blogs on Hello Perfect's YouTube channel. They're still up there. You could check them out. And I was talking about how to be happy and all these different things. And although I wasn't living that, it was helping me. Like giving advice was helping me take my own advice. And I just felt stuck. And so I kept on going to doctor, and I couldn't, I couldn't find a doctor to help me. And one doctor said, Alexa, you should go gluten and dairy free. And so I listened. I was ready to take anybody's advice. Like anybody that said they can help me, like I would listen to you and do whatever you said, like literally whatever you said. And so I went gluten and dairy free, and I didn't know what to eat at all. So I lost so much weight, also because of my autoimmune disease and everything. Like I just lost so much weight again. After the hospital, I lost so much weight and then gained it back, and then it was unhealthy, very unhealthy. And so I enrolled into the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is an online course to learn about all the different dietary theories. And that's where I got that's where I became a certified holistic health coach. And so I started learning about all this food as medicine, and I started to cook different things. But because I started getting a little bit healthier, but because my mind was in a state of fear, living with PTSD, I was still so sick, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I couldn't find a way out. It's like when you close your eyes and all you see is darkness. That was my reality every single day. And so in January, this was literally January 26, 2014. So literally 1 year after I was induced into the medical coma, I decided to move back home from New York to South Florida to gain the support from my family, because I couldn't get healthy in New York. It was just too hard. And so that was one of the hardest and best decisions I ever made for myself, because in one hand I was so upset and scared that I was giving up on this dream that I've had since I was 10 years old, to work in fashion, live the New York City lifestyle. And I was like, am I giving this up? But on the other hand, I knew that I was going to end up back in the hospital if I didn't do something about it. And so it taught me so much that although we may think that we want this path, or we want this dream, experiences in our life change us, and some experiences change us forever, but no experience is ever wasted. that life that I was searching for, that life that I was going after, wasn't a life that belonged to me. And although I had to find out the really, really hard way and have life knock me down multiple times, it brought me onto the path that I am on today. And I know this is my right path. And in my heart, I know. And so when things happen to you, remember they're happening for you. And when dreams change, that's okay. If your dream changes, that's okay, no matter how old you are. Don't ever think then. And when I thought about it, when I came home and I started journaling, I talk about journaling. I didn't give up on it. I checked it off on my bucket list. I moved to New York City after college and I worked for InStyle magazine. But that just wasn't for me long term. It reminds me of Tony Robbins. I haven't done Tony Robbins teachings, but that's a good compliment, so thank you. Yeah, exactly, Ron, exactly. So I came back home and I started to really get into food as medicine. And I went to these different holistic doctors. I went to integrative doctors, holistic doctors, Western medicine doctors, like every type of doctor to try to help me. And every single doctor prescribed me more medicine and more medicine and more medicine. And by the way, every single doctor prescribed me different medicine. So I was like, what do I do? Nothing was working and I was so sick. So sick. Like I was going to end up in the hospital. Actually, I did end up in the hospital again. I got pleurisy, which is an infection around your lungs. I couldn't breathe again. And I had to go back on antibiotics even though I was trying to build up my good gut flora. I got pleurisy. So it just shows like I got sick again because I was in that negative state of mind. And so finally, after the 25th doctor, so to say, I was so fed up and I said to I had this knowing, like all of a sudden it was like, you know, the light bulb thing where like an idea pops into your head. I know, bacteria, what the heck. All of a sudden I had a knowing and I said to my mom, I'm going to heal myself through nutrition and the mind. And that is when everything changed. I went completely vegan. I went completely gluten-free. I started juicing every single day. And I really started to focus on my thoughts. When a negative thought came into my head, I wouldn't focus on it. I wouldn't put my energy on it. I wouldn't say, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? Why can't I be a normal 22-year-old? Why? Instead, I would let it pass and focus on why did this happen for me? Focus on the purpose that I have in this world. Focus on the gratitude I feel for surviving. Focus on the gratitude that I survived out of a 1% chance of living. How come I survived when 1 in 3 people don't survive? How come I survived with all my limbs? A lot of times, if you survive from sepsis, you come out of the coma with some limbs cut off because they have to cut off the circulation so sepsis doesn't spread through the blood. So when I made this decision, it was like, wow. I remember the day perfectly because I was actually in this restaurant with my mom. I haven't read the Master Key System. I was at this restaurant with my mom and I told her and I just felt like so much better. It was like so much weight off of my shoulders. And I walked my mom went to the bathroom and I followed a little bit behind her. And all of a sudden there was a lady that came out of the bathroom. We're at a restaurant and my mom's already in the stall. And right there on the floor, like in front of me, I see a $5 bill. Okay. And this is the second time this has happened to me. The first time going back to when I was in New York City, I was walking through Times Square, one of the busiest streets in Times Square, and I, was living in this depressive state. But I remember stopping and saying, you know what, synchronicity, yes, I'm just going to enjoy the moment. And I looked up at the Times Square lights, and if you live in New York City, you hate going to Times Square because all the tourists. But I brought myself back to my 10-year-old self of the reason why I fell in love with that city. And I just felt so much at peace because I was living in the moment instead of living in the past. And on the most crowded street, I see right in front of me money. and I look around and there's like so many people just walking, right? Nobody pays attention to anyone but like there's themselves in New York. Most people. And I look on the floor and I pick it up and there's a $5 bill and a $1 bill. For some reason, I felt like I needed the $5 bill. I was also like a college grad and trying to eat healthy in New York City was really expensive. But anyway, for some reason, I felt like I needed the $5 bill, and I gave the $1 bill to the next homeless person I saw on the side of the street. And so then this happened again, the $5 bill, when I was in the restaurant after I made the decision to heal myself through nutrition and the mind. So both times that I felt like I was taking control of my life, that I was no longer the victim in my life, is when I got the sign that I needed that said, hey, Alexa, you're doing the right thing. And I told this story to a friend of mine who's really intuitive. And she said, Alexa, do you know what the symbol 5 means? Do any of you guys know what the symbol 5 means? I don't know if you guys know. No? Hand of God. Yes, Andy, there you go. Andy got it. So 5 is the hand of God. And we always, I'm not special. Like, we're all given these signs. It's just a matter if we're open to seeing them. Yes, it's grace. Exactly. It is grace. And so I was just like, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing. It was just that inner knowing. So I started to cook all of my own foods and everything. And like, by the way, I didn't like cooking at all. And I could have looked at it from a really negative point of view, which I did for a little bit because I couldn't go out with my friends because I didn't know what to eat. It was really hard being vegan and gluten-free, plus making sure that it was actually healthy. And, my battery's going to die. And so I started having to cook my own meals. My mom went vegan to help me with the transition. She's always been, money's pretty awesome to get, yeah. She's always been healthy, but she went vegan with me to help me with the transition, which I'm super grateful for. Also, my mom saved my life because I probably would have went to bed instead of going to the ER and never woken up. So I'm very lucky of my mom. So instead of looking at it negatively, I started making my own recipes. I became like a food Instagrammer, love taking pictures of my food, which I still do on Alexa Rose Carlin, on Instagram. And I started to write down all my recipes, and people started asking me for them. And someone's like, yeah, I am very blessed. Someone's like, you should publish this into a cookbook. So I was like, I never thought about that. But I'm sure there's so many people out there that need help with the transition because I didn't even mean it for it to be the plug, but it always is. But because when I was transitioning into vegan and gluten-free living, all the cookbooks required 20 plus ingredients, and I was this college grad living in New York City, and I could not afford to buy this little bottle of herbs for $20 to use a sprinkle of it. So I had to make my own recipes that were super simple, didn't take 3 hours in the kitchen, and didn't require so many ingredients. And so that's what I did, and I published it in a cookbook. I did a Kickstarter campaign to help me, and I sold, I think, 100 pre-sale copies, which is really awesome. And now it's on my website. You could check it out. It's called The Simple Gluten-Free Vegan Cookbook. It's on my website, alexacarlin.com. You'll see a tab that says book on the top. So from this whole experience, okay, and it's been a very hard 3 years, but I really, I have my ups and downs. To be honest, I'm not in perfect health. My computer just died. That's okay. I'm not in perfect health because I've seen that my happiness has a direct correlation with my health because it's a lot of digestive issues and things affect me. I'm a very sensitive person. So, things affect me in different ways. And even though, I'm not stressed externally, you'll never see me as a stressed person, but my body gets stressed really easily, internally. And because I don't feel it, it's taken out and I get sick again. So, it comes and goes. So sometimes I I am in a hard place, but I have the tools now in order to build. So I kind of say it like, you're welcome. Um, so I kind of say it like we're a tree, okay? In order for the tree to grow, you must plant the roots. And the roots are kind of like the inner working of ourselves, right? They're the inner working of the tree. Once the roots are planted, the tree can grow, which means that like you may get chopped down. You know, obstacles may throw you down, but because the roots are planted, you can always grow. And so that's what I was doing the past 2.5 years, is planting the roots, learning how to heal myself. And now when I do get sick, when something does happen in my life, I do have the tools to grow back from it. But it's crazy how much our mind creates our reality. So looking back at from that first time, that first moment that changed everything in September with my sister to now, my mind was creating my reality the entire time. I had sepsis. I was in an induced coma. You check out the replay. Talked about the roots make the fruits. Yeah. So remember when I told you in the beginning that I was high on life, like I was living life in September before everything happened, and I looked at myself in my bathroom mirror and I said, my life is too perfect, something's going to go wrong. And then something did go wrong. At that moment, I didn't think I was worthy of living a perfect life. At that moment, I didn't realize it. But now looking back, I realized that I said that I wasn't worthy of living a perfect life. And what happened? My perfect life got destroyed. And then I went into a downward spiral after I found out my sister was almost going to commit suicide. And then I was in the coma. And then in the coma, my mind healed my body. And then I got out of the coma, and then I got post-traumatic stress, and I was living in fear. And again, my mind destroyed my body to get a digestive disease, and so sick where I had to move home. And it was so horrible those 2 years. But then again, my mind healed my body. Because when I was focusing on looking at food in a positive way, and I was really focusing on positive thinking, and I got really into meditation and yoga and being in the present moment and writing and journaling and really taking control of my life and not allowing myself to be in the victim mode anymore, that's when I healed myself. And so that's why I stress so much that the power of positive thinking, it can literally transform your life, change it so much. But we all have that power. We all have that right to think a way that we want, right? It's free thinking. It's amazing. But this experience changed me completely. Thank you. So, oh, you guys are sweet. So, that's my main story. If you guys have any questions that I didn't read, you can ask me them now, and I'll read them about any part of the story if I didn't mention it. Free your mind by facing your fears. Yeah. Thank you, Ariel. I appreciate that. Great story. I could totally relate. You could relate. See, there's more people out there. What a great story before I go to bed. Yeah, go to bed with positive thoughts. Thank you, James. Thank you, CJ. I was about to watch your replay and saw you on. Destiny. You'll have to catch this replay. You're an inspiration. Thank you, the Glam Pages. You're welcome, Ian. I appreciate it, Anita. Of course. You guys have been asking, so I wanted to tell you. How do you try to not let people affect you in a bad way? That's a great question. So, like I said, my happiness is directly correlated to my health. So, for example, there's things going on right now in my family, and it affects me because I love my family, and it's really hard when someone you love is hurting to not hurt with them. But what I've realized is that you hurting with someone doesn't make a situation better, right? Two negative people don't make a positive. So, in order to not let people affect you so much, you kind of have to create a bubble, but in a way that protects you while also being there for someone. So you can have compassion and you can listen to someone and you could be there for someone without it really affecting you internally by creating that bubble. And don't think of it as like it's not like separating you so much, but it's kind of like your shield of protection. And it's kind of like survival mode. That's what I've had to learn. And my doctors have even told me that. They said, you can't let what's going on in your family and what's going on in externally affect you internally. You have to do it for survival mode. Yes, I often do a bubble of light meditation and send them love and light. Yes, send them love and light. You can do that. Send them love and light. Have you done raw food? I haven't done a completely raw food diet. Well, for a couple of days, I guess. But actually for digestion, it's really hard to digest raw foods. So that's why I juice a lot, because like think about eating pounds of carrots and kale and cucumbers and celery. Like it'll be a lot to chew and a lot to digest. So I'll juice them, but usually before bed, it's good to have a cooked meal because it digests easier. What's your favorite food to eat since you're vegan? Avocados. Something with wheat and gluten. So gluten-free and vegan isn't for everyone. Thank you. Yes, it says breathe. It's a reminder for me to breathe. Gluten-free and vegan isn't for everyone, but plant-based meals in your diet can help you dramatically. It will give you more energy. You can really see a big difference. I also am not a fan of milk for everyone, but the main tip, I believe in bio-individuality, which means one person's food is another person's poison. What do you do to not lose weight with a gluten-free diet? To not lose weight well, you can still eat stuff. They have gluten-free breads. They have, I eat rice pasta. Yeah, I love avocados. I eat rice pasta. You won't necessarily lose weight with a gluten-free diet. People think that, but it's not true. So, it guess of course depends on your body. What juicer do you recommend? A juicer with the blades that go like this. Don't get the blade that goes like this. Get the blades that go like this because it extracts more juice. I forgot what they're called, but you'll know if you go ask. Like I don't want one. Like most of the new juicers don't have the round blade. That's old juicer, but they're like two blades that go internal like that. Masticating. There you go. Masticating blades. Alexa, the story was phenomenal. Oh, thank you, Chris. Sorry, I missed some of those other questions. I was in a stressful job and I couldn't breathe and finish sentences. I internalized the negativity. Yeah, and that definitely had an effect on your health, I'm guessing. What was the make and break point for you from transitioning to being more positive? Once I realized that nothing is going to change unless I change. Nothing. I was already living in that state of fear for a year. And nothing was changing. My friends couldn't change me. My family couldn't change me. And I realized that, I'm only 22. I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. And so I realized that I have so many dreams that I want to accomplish. I have so many things I want to do in my life. And I have so many passions. And I'm never going to be able to accomplish them in this negative state of mind. And I realized that that's more important to me. What is the meditation done with your fingers again? Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Of course. I'm here to spread the light. I believe that I survived for a reason, and so I think my story can inspire others, and that's why I share it. You're welcome, Chris. Scopeaholic issue, dying battery. Bye, Alexa. Oh, okay, bye. I know. I charged my battery before this. Great shirt. Thank you. I need to create more yoga shirts or like yoga sayings. I know I want your cookbook just for the palm cakes. Oh my God, palm cakes are so good. Much respect. My own personal struggles pale in comparison. I'm inspired. Oh, I'm glad you're inspired. Listening to you is the best meditation. Oh, thanks, Ariel. You make me want to tell my story one day, but I've never moved to tell it before till now. Do it. Definitely do it. I always say your story can inspire someone. What proteins do I eat? So my body is different than other bodies. I don't necessarily need as much protein as some other people, but I eat legumes like beans. I eat, there's this mung bean pasta that has like 14 grams of protein per serving. I eat avocados. Vegetables have some protein. I eat a lot of sprouts. Your food pics on Instagram look great. Thanks. Yeah, I love taking food pictures. um, so yeah, I eat all that for protein. I also have smoothies with a vegan pea protein or hemp protein powder. My Instagram is the same as Periscope, Alexa Rose Carlin. Thanks, Alexa. You're welcome, Angie. Your life is either a warning or an example. Yep, hopefully it's an example. Well, it could be both, I guess. Very cool you're able to tell your story. Yeah, that's what my mom said. My mom's like, I was like, I'm about to broadcast my story, and she's like, oh, that's so upsetting to do before bed. And where can you get your cookbook? You can get it on alexacarlin.com. Top menu bar, it says book, and then it'll take you to the Amazon link. alexacarlin.com. And it's in my bio on Periscope. And so, but then we're like, but we're grateful that I'm able to tell my story. So yeah, it's all about changing that mindset. No, yeah, thank you. Gotta go. It's nearly 5 a.m. and want to watch your morning motivation. Okay, good night, Destiny. Have a good night. Remember, go to bed thinking positive thoughts. Lex, you're awesome. I wish I had your courage. God bless you. You do. You do have my courage. I promise you, but thank you. Thank you, William. Thank you all of you guys. You guys have been awesome. I don't think there was any trolls, or at least I didn't see any trolls in the scope. Thank you for sharing. Very powerful for me. I'm glad, Alicia. Do you still visualize being healthy all the time? Hippocrates Health Institute, have you? Yeah, I went to Hippocrates Health Institute, and that's when I learned about like raw food living and sprouts and wheatgrass shots. And I actually worked with the health coach there that took me in for free, and that was a cool experience. I still sometimes go there and stuff. Were you able to maintain your friends during all of this? That's a good question. So the one that I was living with, who was like my all-time best friend, like literally we were attached at the hips. We were random roommates freshman year of college, and then just like we studied abroad in London together. We did everything. I'm glad, William. And that was the friend I was talking about, how she was so there for me, but it was just too much, and she was ready to live a happy life, and she couldn't stay in that negative place I was, and she kind of did it wrong in a way that she didn't show the compassion that I needed by just like leaving me out of things, or not taking interest, I guess, in what I had to say. But it's also another side of it. Like, she wanted to be happy, and she didn't want to handle that anymore. I mean, it wasn't like I'm her daughter, but we were best friends, so it did break us up for a year. She actually worked with me for Hello Perfect too, and obviously quit. So that was different. That was weird. So yeah, it changed a lot. It changed a lot. She's still in New York, but we talk now. We reconnected literally like 1 year after I moved home, because I was living with her in New York. And, it's different, but we have so many amazing memories from college together. So at least like we're reconnected, and she's been through everything with me. What is Hello Perfect? Hello Perfect's my nonprofit. Yeah, it's not cool. Hello Perfect's my nonprofit, I started as a blog before I got sick. Everyone's like, oh, you started a nonprofit after you had this near-death experience, you want to make a difference. Like, I actually started Hello Perfect with the same mission before I got sick. But then last September, it became like a 501c3 nonprofit. And our mission is to promote self-esteem in young adults' lives through health and wellness education. So that is stemmed off the experience of me and my sister going through bullying and stuff. And the health and wellness part is all the different techniques that help me change my negative thinking to positive thinking. You can check it out, helloperfect.com. Yeah. So things just weren't meant to be for you both in that moment. Who knows why? Yeah, exactly. Like when I go to New York Scope Week, like I'm going to see her. But of course it's different. It's like we're living two completely lives when before we were living the exact same life. So, but experiences change you and people change with them. Yeah, check it out. So I'm gonna go, but this was exactly an hour long scope. Alexa, I'm glad I found you on Periscope. I've changed my way of thinking these past 2 months. Oh, I'm glad, Chris. I'm glad you found me too. I always say we found each other because everything's a direct reflection of you. Wise for being young. Yeah. Thank you, William. Everyone says I'm wise beyond my years, but it's really like experience made me this way. Like I had to grow up a lot faster. Like I was a party girl in college. Like oh, thanks.